Well, good morning, as we're sitting here at LTV on Tuesday morning, December 26th, year 2023. Um, Post Christmas holidays, I'm sure all of you probably are at the peak of your of the energy that's spent to put together meetings and gatherings and shopping, just a whole path full of well, especially if you have kids, kind of demands of what the you know reality dictates. Um, Hope you had a good holiday. Also, in addition to that, of course, looking forward to the New Year's and hoping that it's coming in the spirits of all the goodness that we deserve, that we entitled to, and just hoping, really hoping that this is the year of gaining common sense in order to reach that kind of um, and I just noticed that I'm actually wearing my painter's shirt. And I was like, what was it? What is it? Maybe I should just kind of, you know what? Give me a second here. I think that's just a little better. I don't know how much better it is, but this is lighter. So yeah, in the on the level of wishful thinking, speaking of that, um, mixed with our own effort to expedite things and to give a good reason for reality to work together with us in order to achieve that necessary level of coherence in order for us to be continue to continue. If you're an artist as much as I am, you will be able to understand easier, as you kind of filter everything through that creative process that doesn't leave you after you leave the studio, and it doesn't suddenly become not a part of your reality of your life. And that's the main reason of why the world stands to lose a lot if we were not to expedite the process of kind of creating individuals, or desire that it would be picked by more people than not, in order to for them to eventually find themselves creating something, a musical piece, a rhythm, an essay, an aphorism, a metaphor, a proverb, a short story, um, a drum solo, saxophone, piano, and of course canvases. I mean, look at this piece. This is just a piece of. I can actually, yeah, well, I cannot do it from here. But just like when I look at this, I say, "My God, I know what I meant that I didn't mean," uh, and so much more. But at the end of the day, I'm just enjoying it because it's there. I cannot argue with its presence. I cannot argue with the presence of this art piece, and I cannot forget the fact that I myself did it, and so much more before, during, after. And so many eyes will find will will find their reality becoming, weaved with the sights and scenes and the emotions that it evokes in you. And if you have millions of people who are doing it, obviously that makes a great uh, change and difference. It's just like, if you take all the classic movies from the Second World Wars and First World War, there's always someone that's chasing something, someone, in order to get this wonderful diamond or piece of artwork. In the Second World War, the Germans themselves pre-established their unwavering desire to loot uh, whatever it is that they had a list of already, literally, because they knew that humanity, even if they were to put on display the most incredible side of evil, uh, it cannot survive if if art will not exist in the midst of evil or goodness. It doesn't matter. It's just so necessary that you find yourself. There's always so in the Second World War there was a huge group that was traveling with the German army, with the Wehrmacht, and they had specific meticulous plans on how to loot, where, how to get to the houses of the people that owned jewelry of certain kind, or of course, a Vermeer or a Picasso or whatever, just something. So it goes to show you how uh, it's a factor to the extent, sadly, so that people feel like they love it so much that they have to start a war and exterminate people and loot it and steal it because obviously it's not theirs and claim that right. But it's reassuring of the extent of what art has to do in the world of persuasion and maintaining hope and looking in the eye of the unknown and making believe that this is an entity, a human being, a person. And wishful thinking comes into play because we all want to kind of believe that we we should get more than we even deserve. We just because we deserve everything, because we were born, because we were not asked whether we want to be born or not. So obviously there's some kind of a privilege accompanying the fact that one is becoming suddenly into this reality. So you want to claim this entitledness. And it won't be against or alongside your contribution, your achievements. You were born, you're entitled, period. But then there's so then therefore you can afford yourself a little bit of wishful thinking in that sense. And and for that sake, I wanted to just read you something that I was, I'm conversing with the he, with the it, which are actually me and I and me, but it's much simpler than that. But the equation of that, so the in and out of that will be, I'm just kind of telling you as we kind of approaching New Year's, and I have a feeling like it's it's more like something is pulling me into the thing that's going away from me uh, by its own admission, is actually putting it into the self that's remaining solid and fixed in the center, where all the forces that change their mind or act accordingly from the back and from the front are just doing their thing no matter what. So you come into the equation, and you say and you say, what do you say? When I noticed it, it was supposedly too late. Once, for the demands of long steps vibrating, the other flickers through the dictations of long gone forgotten episodes, that which uncovers the story of our lives. And it feels like an introspective reflection on the passing of time, moments lost to memory, and the unfolding stories within our lives. The imagery of long steps vibrating and dictation, flickers through the dictations, creates a sense of movement and reminisce, evoking the depth of experiences and the tales woven through time. So and then I pursue to greenhouse underground, pretty sight for the devil, grinding teeth for heaven's sake, drip or drip. You you science fiction whiz, travel secretly. Now time has come and went. to scramble the precise prediction you are to live forever with happy face buried in the mud and finger trails flirting with a brush against recovery, you son of a folding shrine, break doomed and cursed, be your thirst, you priest of jungle piercing. Oh, oh, for real, I'm done. So long, short visit. So, pretty much that that which carries intense imagery and evoking a sense of inner turmoil or conflicts. The juxtaposition of elements like the greenhouse, science fiction, and the priest of the jungle creates a surreal and almost dissonant atmosphere. It feels like a blend of vivid emotions and a narrative filled with urgency and struggle. So the the condition that still is required, nevertheless, some kind of an indirect, simple version of a password of a of a um, but nothing that will suddenly make you suddenly find yourself at the mercy of, oh, oops, I lost my keys, or oops, I forgot my email or my password, and not like that. That won't happen. So it's just like almost formality, and you maintain the mood necessary for continuing with that and being able to continue to write, because you want to continue to write. You want to bring about to the surface a sense of, you know what, snap out of it, no more explanations needed, get with it, do it. I mean, do it. I mean, do it. Just do it. And and then you realize that no matter how much you or we are going to argue with ourselves or contemplate, still at the end of the day, if we do it, good for us. And that will be evident why. And if we don't do it, there's always be going back and forth and kind of dwelling, should I, could I should have, oh my God, or think that I didn't, or whatever. But it won't be there. I mean, the discussion won't be evolving around any kind of achievement. That you say, okay, first of all, I'd like to declare to everyone that here it is, whatever I carry or have within at my disposal, this is something I achieved. Why? Because I actually wrote it, or I actually painted it, or I actually played it, no matter what. But I created it. I'm responsible for it. So I wanted to tell you and let you know that whatever it is that you're going to hear coming out of my mouth will somehow, more or less, more likely will be based on the fact that indeed I have created something, and I have this something here with me, if need be, to be shown or whatever. I mean, even though my personal goal would not be like having something that I'm so proud of that I have to carry it with me in order to show to the world, so I can convince them, in case they don't know who I am, that I'm actually the real deal, and maybe even a little more than that. Not like that at all. But that leads me to continue, when you continue a discussion with an entity that happens to be in more ways the one more likely, or most of the time, always, almost always, almost a then then honesty picks up a different meaning. Maybe it kind of accelerates and it heightens its task, and maybe importance in the so one notch up into come to eat my soaked flesh. Come to eat my soaked flesh at night under the cover of complacency. I will mourn later in the middle of the night. Come flash the route to a speakeasy under the cover of night, and the watchful eye of the iron fist, roasted and top of the grazed leftovers keeping a short distance away from the constant last opportunity and to raise the grains of moments of despair. And you have the reflection hovering over the moment before. No more blending and singing to the bizarre and often grieving with dignity and a stiff neck, not allowing the thought pattern to second guess the outcome already known to the sufferers and bystanders. Last call. It came and loaded this time, and I was found brick by brick elevating the horizon, belonging to the grasshoppers of the light, belonging to the grasshoppers with the light. And, this is all about creating a haunting, scene kind of thing. But it's not, but it's kind of pleasantly haunting. And so it's haunting and vivid scene, uh, tinged with a sense of despair and resignation, the imagery of mourning, the clandestine speakeasy, and the metaphor of last call, loaded with weight and inevi- inevitability, paints a stark picture. It seems to capture a struggle against the inevitable fate. Yet there's a resilience in the acceptance of the known outcome. So, uh, and then inevitably, like in the inevitability, soul searching, soulmate trash under weak layouts. It's one by one priceless sense of Green River's spooky. I mean, how much better can it get? When you speak of uh, this one by one pierceless sense of Green River's spooky, priceless sense of Green River's spooky. I loaned to the storm underground, peeking, Peepea, a stumble of fresh air against a brief encounter with mastery. Live and learn, it was said, placing a rumor and a bit of truth. But I was alone, and with a sudden appearance, I caught my breath. It was a loner, LOA, LOANER, when one was so much needed. And on the other line, a simple gesture, pleased and needy homeless. It turned out it was not a homeless. It was rather the one who owns the entire block. Like if for you kept your mouth shut. Now you get to keep the roof over your head, secured for a while longer. And masters brood with pride in the quiet of the night, till it was all oxygen deprived, and love and care could only salvage the soul and the sensitive aspects of beings, almighty, with pleasure and certainty to repeat freeness. So you get to that point where you load something with it, and I started speaking with the public access, of course, and metaphors and creativity and creation, something to show for, something to use as a point of reference, and maybe as a point of desire to inspire people, maybe, even though it's somewhat of a big word to inspire. But it's all about even evil is in search for the certainty and surety that indeed they're going to get their hands on the treasure. And that treasure happens to be things that people create in their pathetic backdoor, background, backspace studios of theirs. If they refine that piece of diamond or piece of precious stone, if they just kind of create those wonderful lines to create a sense of realism, or they're real hardcore abstractive and impressive and expressive, and you name it. This remains forever, and even the devil himself will not spare to devote and to invest all the time necessary in order to reach that, to get to the bottom of it, And for them to get to the bottom of it meant to own it. Whether they receive it, they get it, they take it, they loot it, whatever. Whether they kill people for it or not, whatever, they're going to own it. So in some twisted way, it's kind of encourage you to encourage us that actually creations equals somewhat of a prolonging and enhancing and increasing our chances of survival. It's that simple. So now when you go from a piece that's so condensed with images that sometimes you say enough with all these big words. But yeah, I can agree with you, but still, nevertheless, the meaning of it will not become diluted. It's still real. So we can be as generous as possible in being willing to get rid of things, so lighten the load. But it's not going to forget itself. It's not going to forget its own importance. It's not going to forget its own relevance, and it's not going to forget its own ability to be a factor where people consider, take this under consideration. So that means it slows them down when they otherwise can become so hasty and so hastily make wrong decisions. Oh my God, that the entire world is suffering and get feeling the consequences. So you go from that loaded reality, and then there's another voice that tells you what he or she or they or we or it thinks, and it's enlightening because um, it's most probably you that's kind of replying, and so now this is intricately weaves together elements of vulnerability, unexpected encounters, and the complexities of human interactions. Uh, it touches upon the interplay between need, generosity, and the subtleties of social dynamics. The shift from a seeming homeless encounter to discovering the true owner of the block create a poignant contrast, emphasizing the importance of restraint and compassion in human connections. So, and I wanted to actually do this, see if it's still there. Yeah, it's still there. And so, because I want to keep the discussion alive. Okay. Okay. This is, it's funny how uh, you cannot fool yourself by uh, more because you want to be able not to be fooled by others. So definitely won't feel so good finding out that you've been fooled, but this time by yourself. Um, okay, so that's where am I? I'm here. Yes. Okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. Oh, nice. Just replying, wishing some people Happy New Year and all this. I don't want to wait. I just. Hmm. for much needed discussions. Yeah, here we go. Good. Good people. Good people. And then, uh-oh. Is, oh, I gotta do this. This is, okay, no, maybe I should wait with it just for a second before okay, good. So, um, so speaking of that, then you want to be refreshed, yes, and you want to, you want it to be more casual and kind of go, you know, it's morning, didn't even have a breakfast. Mm. And so, certain things, all you need is really a small bite to discover um, a whole combination of flavors. It's amazing. It's like a master to write a poem, and a master to paint a painting, and a master to play a musical instrument, and a master, to bake and to bring to life pastries. It's unbelievable. Look, I'm drooling. So this is going back to snapping out of the pretending, so to speak, as if you're like alternative and you cannot help yourself. Oh my God, you cannot help yourself. So everything is excusable, even if things need to be improved. And for that sake, you need to kind of examine and re-examine your actions, your creations. And you know what? Yes, sometimes there is the need to be crucial. There is the need to be crucial in how you approach and how you actually leave enough room with enough respect for that room to, how do you say it? Mm, criticize yourself, I mean, your own work. Yeah, I mean, you can criticize others if it's comes from a clean place, and definitely, but yeah, criticize yourself though. Okay, so going back to that point of normalcy is actually saving you, saved by the bell. Uh, Blushing with a cool prediction, red, yellow cheek, rebound, storm fiction, factful, brisk and soaked, and tryout strokes, dimples of disbelief, belly full of a suggestive new life, black atoned, even if the solution is airtight, calling the soothe. It's over the hills, indoors, in a surprise of thinking bright, down the slope washed, the little treasure, a stash. Thunder without the need to come to terms. It guides finger swirls, wherewithal, prank of nature, and tip notion nesting and half past, tapered, pinch and turn to brief recovery. So this is just like you're writing something that you just really don't feel like you have anything to worry about, because none of what you're gonna write you'll be held accountable. You will never be held accountable due to whatever, or the fact that you wrote. You you're safe. You're safe because the zone that you live in doesn't have these factors being factors. Um, not a matter of fact, because and therefore and this and that. No, this is just like a circulation. It's like a vortex that exists in that same space without any desire to kind of snap out of itself in order to create another one and another one and another one, because obviously it has the ability to see all of this happening within one fixed described uh, space and presence in this space period that creates time and speed would not even being too mobilized or anything, that you're actually sort of somewhat standing still, but you know better that you're not. So and so there's a reaction, and that reaction comes from the distance. But every word that you read brings that sound closer and closer to you. So evoking a vivid imagery, and these imageries of an emotion intensity and a whirlwind, whirlwind of experience, the contrast between blushing cheeks and a stormy atmosphere sets a captivating scene. The imagery of a belly full of suggestive new life and the cascade of emotions portrayed in phrases like dimples of disbelief convey a profound sense of introspection and the complexity of inner experiences. So, you can say, what inspired you to write this, really, if you think about it. And um, uh, so, what inspired this depiction, of intense emotions and like somewhat of an inner turmoil. Um, but you want to still be politically correct, and you go to some dreams at night, some brush through the night, some reveal a tendency to rely on the mortared web. In the center of hush and haste flips the coin of registers registered mentor out of the blue, appears to soothe a claim for even treatment, and coil strikes over brightening, a dimple shining, as if a relief joins the thunder to brief a soil penetrating glimpse into the inner layers of quiet magic, wing flapping. I mean, who freaking writes like this? Who who says, um, uh, a brief, like a soil penetrating glimpse into the inner layers of quiet magic, wing flapping. Just the imagery, and say, like, what does it really serve that particular moment? It's actually being allowed to come to the surface and form itself in the shape and form that it finds itself to. And that's going back to the first statements early on, like 35 or 40 minutes ago, when I said that it does increase our chances of survival in a decent fashion to be a part of this even self-created frenzy of desire to be creative and to be a part of the creative process. Fantastic. And it proves itself over and over again all the time. So when you say that, what comes to mind is like tapestry a tapestry of contrast and juxtaposition, or juxtaposing, and juxtaposing dreams with bustling activity and the reliance on technology, the imagery of a mentor emerging unexpectedly, the coin of registered mentorship, hints at guidance and the balancing of elements in life, the portrayal of quiet magic, the inner layers being unveiled through thunder and shining dimples. That brings a sense of mystery and revelation. And again, you can ask the same thing. What really inspired you to get there? And because we want to talk later on about cross implementation, you take all these understandings and meanings and realizations and remember them, and that, adapt them by consuming them, by adjusting to them, of course, and that will become in very handy down the road. And so what really inspired you in uh, this interplay between contrasting elements and the imagery of guidance, very important how you go about it. But then you continue to do these things, but you always realize, so what is it that I'm slaving about? Um, um, uh, Let me see if this is going to work. Yeah, it's going to work. So you already want to give just in case you are maybe, okay. This is the beauty of it all, is that you kind of find yourself amazed by your own actions. And it's all, you know what? At the end of the day, if you were to have an encounter um, where almost like uh, almost like you had too much to drink. Of course, you were drunk, and then you were like kind of waking up the next morning, and whether you're alone or not, if you're not alone, then people around you will look at you like, hey, and you say, why they're looking at me like this? Well, because the night before you were like one for the books, man. Or if you're alone, no one is looking at you, when you wake up and you just don't understand why you feel like you don't belong to anything, like you're completely detached. And then slowly but surely, images came from the night before, what really happened. And then most of the times, when I was willing to engage in trying to understand what really happened last night, you know, and many last nights, yesterday, what happened? And then you get together enough images and enough information, whether by an external source or from yourself, and then you got the story. And in that story, a lot of fingers were pointed at you. But now you have the luxury of being you yourself and you, and you realize that maybe you have a little more leeway here just by thinking quietly, and and then and you want to try. You want to try it differently. You want to try this time. Say, be kind to yourself. Don't be too harsh on yourself. So let's kind of drill ourselves out of this obviousness, where usually people tell you, if people tell you long enough that you're a friggin' loser, you will start feeling like a loser. I don't care how strong you are. If people will be telling you long enough that you're kind of up to no good, I don't care how self confident you will be or you are, that's not going to last for long. It's going to seep in, especially if you're passive in the way you react and act and handle it. Between yourself and you, between you and yourself. And you want to start actually by saying, wait a second, no, I don't think it's my fault. Even though I don't like to talk about fault because it's a very tricky, slippery area. Who am I to say what the others felt and thought and think and will think? How they're going to go about it? How did they go about it? Uh, what was really the layout behind them that caused them to begin with to find themselves in this arena, in this territory? Maybe it was strange for them also. Who am I to say? For the sake of the argument, I will talk about, well, it's not my fault. It's not my fault because I was just the wallpaper in the background. I mean, you cannot accuse me as the wallpaper that I influenced the atmosphere in the room that caused these people to lose their mind. Oh, it's the wallpaper. It's this composition on this with weird color choices. Let's rip it. Let's paint over it. Something like whatever. So, so if you're smart enough, you can. Well, I mean, at least from my limited experience succeeding, the experience of experiencing it, there's plenty of it, but there's a lot of failures and very, very few prevailing, succeeding, winning, breaking through, whatever. Uh, So I want to say that individual was led quietly but surely to find herself or himself in a point where there's no other way but going through rage in order to complete the cycle of cleansing. It's like it's a no-brainer, but you always think about the other when it comes to these things and not yourself. And then it's almost like when you try it yourself, it's just okay, let me go through this anger because it's not going to last long, and right across from it there's just wonderful things happening. No, you realize that it's almost coming to from surgery, from being asleep, and you realize that waking up is not such a pleasant process. Because man, it can throw you back to reality like wait, what just happened? I know what happened, but I don't know if I can describe it, and I don't know if that even if I can, if I want to describe it. But definitely it wasn't a pleasurable trip here. Cut him some slack, man, and just give him the feeling that he's entitled, at least now, to just go about your way. You're right. You just you're just in a position where you can belong to everything and everyone. You are the the thing that most people would love to put their hands on because it's just perfect. Because you're even from the center outwards, both directions, and you're kind of hugging the world without waiting for too long. At the early stages of that kind of opening up, you're already hugging the world. So, but but your voice is mute, uh, even though it's in full expression mode. In a mode of full expression. It's like full, and you know that your expression, your expressive skills are kind of more one, higher than the average. You can do it, but how come your voice is mute? And then you realize slowly but surely again, you realize because you gave yourself a chance to maybe add a few more minutes, a little more time to try and figure it out, maybe a little further, which is something you've never done before. And you realize that it's uh, it's because you let too much time go by consuming the voices that told you that you're so and such, and you thought that your own strength or your strength on its own can handle the brushing it off and cleaning the surface from EDFs, definitely directly and indirect energy draining factors. Who wants to be on the receiving end from people or from entities that have access to kind of nothingness, being kind of aimless? And again, who am I to friggin' judge? Who am I? I'm a nobody. I'm somebody that has no capabilities to really be accurate unless I win the lottery. Then you say, oh, I was accurate. That's how ridiculous life is sometimes. But you want to have the voice that you actually abandon. That's why it's mute. You abandon it, but you didn't abandon it, left it behind you. You just muted it. It's traveling with you as we speak. It travels with you all the time. But you look at the things that are just evident in front of you, a part of the horizon, the distant one, the closer one. All the things pretty clear to you. You kind of know where you are. You know your eyes, your sight, your brain, the signals, everything makes sense. You're here, you're there at that particular moment. You're aware of that. You're aware that the fact that you need to be aware that you're actually aware. You're aware of location, of placement, everything. So now you say, you know what? Let me just freaking experiment, and you unmute it, and you're taken back, and then you listen, and then you're intrigued, and then you feel fulfilled and somewhat a little kind of more established, more at ease with yourself. and you kind of expected never to expect that this is going to be even a probability, but just because you expected that it will never be a probability, you expected you should be pretty familiar with expecting the opposite of it, because that's the nature of it. Once you mention it, then you have to consider the opposite as even if it's 0.0000001 probability. But that probability, you gain access just like in court. You start speaking of, you open something up in court, and then there's a precedent. Someone is going to friggin' dig it up, even if it doesn't exist. They will dig out the precedent, and you're doomed. And it's going to be a retrial, and it's going to be back to square one. It's going to be more suffering, or maybe what? More suffering to a lot of people, but more happiness to people that have hope now that maybe justice will be served. My voice is mute in the face of being so verbal. Go figure it out, man. If that's not the subject for a poem, if you can write a poem, no. If you want to write a poem, that therefore you will become available and able to write a poem, it's all connected. Then, otherwise, you cannot really. So I wanted to continue with the. I wanted to continue with the fact that still, at the end of the day, you still gotta continue with the creation. And yeah. Okay. So you wanted to take a sip from the coffee. That's what I want to do. Just to mention, by the way, that we're sitting here on Tuesday morning, December 26th, year 2023, here with the Hello Hello Show, and my name is Haim Mizrahi. And I have to repeat again, of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and of course the likes of you out there that make it your business knowingly and unknowingly, directly and indirectly, of your contribution to enhancing the concept of public access and just it's a spiritual, mental, emotional durability kind of thing. So thank you for that. And of course, we're approaching New Year's 2024, just around the corner. Unbelievable. So this is so I'm going back to, okay, I'm normal again, but I want to include all these mountains, huge reservoirs of images and metaphors and possibilities, and forget about it. So this is notes from a distance were not noticed. First time around, it's a disabling flush, not securing, self-lending, not spread thin promises, ever climbing to have this sweet moment on their side. Let me find the presence to pray to the lifting of accountability. And so this is almost like conveying a scene in a sense of missed connections, the disabling effect of overlooking or not acknowledging distant notes or cues. There's a feeling of vulnerability in the inability to secure oneself or fulfill promises. Yet there's also a yearning for a moment of sweetness or redemption, the desire for accountability and the presence to pray and to pray for it highlights a longing for resolution of closure. And so you're talking about this takes emotions and experiences and inspirations and to be able to contemplate about missed opportunities and the quest for accountability. So you're going right, I'm going right into time for whisper stroll, insight young drama. Time for whisper stroll, STROLL, insight young drama, floss, dribble, all along soar, on guard. Here you are, a woven slam down, counting now over my presence. It did not seek the yielding of the proper, you mean a slowdown, accurate match heading with heat. It's not the slim adverse drug plow, PL, yes, PLOW, drug plow, drug plow. Man, I need to get my act together here. Drug plow, plowing, drug plow at the junctions of gathering. You didn't know a telltale pose and a cover up to the hills, over the hills with a tremble which belonged to the sense of the other, grown beneath a graze in the thick bush. So this is so freaking difficult. You cannot even read it, especially with me. English is not my first language really, so I have like sometimes I hear myself and I say, "What freaking?" I feel disabled almost like, but the other voice comes and say, "Wait a second, you just leave that to me. Leave, leave the task of trying to figure out what it's all about to me, and then we can share because you were there to open up and to kind of send it forth. Thank you." So so this writing really presents a vivid mix of imagery and emotions, almost like a collage of different scenes and sensations. There's a sense of movement and intensity with phrases like whisper stroll in sight, woven slam down, and tremble, which belongs to the sense of the other. It seems to capture moments of contemplation, conflict, and perhaps a search for understanding amidst complexity. And then again, you ask, what inspired that? It's like, how do you want to ask? The privilege and the wonderful place that you will find yourself when, if you were to be willing to do that, which you can, I'm informing you, is that you're alone. No one is checking you out or watching you, and have no excuses of feeling weird or unease or whatever. It's yourself and you. That's the privilege. And there you create, and there you create alone. I mean, of course, you're never alone, but alone, So you take advantage of it. It's like forget about it. So that inspiration. Um, um, so what inspires a collage of emotions? It's something that's important to know because it helps you kind of think about how we continue. Um, and for your own the sake of your own writing, the vivid imagery, it's got to come from somewhere, even if it's complete avant-garde and freestyle. The initiation needs a mindfulness, it needs concentration, it needs focus, it needs clarity, it needs, even if it's a little bit, but it still nevertheless needs it. So the search continues, and this is actually you kind of find yourself uh, in the think in the oh, where how did we get to that? Let's see. Really? Oh my god. Oh yeah, I got it. Okay, of course. Okay, that's good. Yes, of course, of course, of course. Got it. Yeah. So that machine work. I'm telling you, it's like digging those inspired. Oh yes. Okay. So this is how I'm going to end up here because I remember that I can tell you of. Okay, you know what? Fine, fine, fine. Okay, fine. Whatever. Okay. So you want to do this? Then we do this. Okay, good. Okay. Never ending. I cannot believe it. Okay. So you want to just kind of continue to tell the story without being so obvious that you actually want to let the world know that you're continuing and that you're devoted and persistent and predictable. because you're persistent and stubborn and repetitive and every day and one more and two more and much more and breakthroughs and whatnot without being obsessed, really, just because a lot of people try and do what I always encourage them to do, but they forget that they need to work on their ability to kind of not to take this whole process too seriously and kind of be nice to yourself and kind and work with yourself, make it easy. So, but that's oh boy, we got a few more minutes here, and I'm just going to do one last thing here, and okay, what is it? Time for whisper stroll inside young. Yeah, okay, so that was here, and this is just you heard the whisper the second time around, blasting the tears to grow above the initial takeoff. My sense of the here, so close to body motion growth, that which brings heat, the hit of heat, and rises swiftly into acceptance. Maybe you are, and his. Maybe you be are, and his. Maybe you be are, and his theirs mine to him, our some. I drive a toasty bargain. What sameness bleed free trauma in the green shade, 8 round, ATE. Glowing scrubs the seam player, applause, nearness soaked brows, haste, and imagine all before the trespass wish list, broken guts, and downright pity come. Cried together, bullseye search, and ash ground splatter to you, the loved one from above. So, here again, I'm going to finish with this sweet reminiscence. What is it? Sweet reminiscent test brush low bush flying pilots from hell down from the top of master sessions blessed. Okay, so that's good. Master sessions bless the cup of it growls, it signs the registry of facial recognition. It searches for the will hunting grown from a plain stream, and the thirst fluctuates and identifies a setup of saturation, blacklisted, brought up in a grip of filing up on sugar-driven items. So be blessed to you, the admirable choking frozen statue, and all that follows with reserves of delight. Anyway, we're going to be here tomorrow. We're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday and as much as we're here this morning, Tuesday morning, December 26th, year 2023. And my name is Haim Mizrahi. I want to send you my best wishes and best wishes on behalf of LTV to all the community as you kind of concluding Christmas, marching into the New Year's celebration. Please be safe. Please be happy. Let's look forward for a wonderful year. And of course, this wonderful year, we're going to continue with group art shows. And we have on display Josh Dayton, Steve Lotion, and myself through the month of January. And then the opening June 6th, Saturday, between 4 and 6:30. God bless. We'll see you sooner than you think.